Hey guys, welcome to Anathema. My name is Lauren Chen. Thank you so much for being here. A big thank you especially to everybody in the live chat. Inevitable China on Rumble. I have no sympathy for her. Yeah, so when I was making my little intro compilation, it was kind of not a good time going through all of these clips of people just saying the most terrible things about me, lying about me in ways that basically have never been corrected for the most part. But yeah, it's a banger. I do enjoy the intro. Moses Mendoza on Facebook. Hey, we love our Facebook chatters. I've said this before. Most active chats are always Kick, Twitch, Rumble. So I'm always so happy to see people on Facebook and X. Hey, what's up? How you doing? I'm doing great. We have a really fun show today. We're going to be talking about the new news from the Daily Wire. They're apparently seeking investment. They might be doing an IPO. Their valuation is supposedly as much as $2 billion, which is pretty insane. We're going to talk about that. Some people are acting like this is a huge W for Ben Shapiro. Is it really? We'll get into the article. Next, a JP Morgan executive has gone viral and then been fired for stealing a trash can after, I think, a Knicks game. Pretty crazy story. Lizzo, the infamous body positive activist and singer, she has a new album. I had no idea. It turns out most people didn't either because it's apparently sold like 3,000 copies its first week. Not the best, especially considering she used to be a Grammy winner. So we're going to be going over what the potential problem was there. USAID, leftists are still lamenting the cutting of USAID funding. So we're going to be going into the allegations that Elon Musk is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of children, as well as what exactly USAID funding was going toward, because it gets crazier the more you look at it. Just taxpayer dollars going to the most insane things. That's not even to mention all of the corruption that was probably happening, which even if we ignore the corruption, the stated goals of what the money was supposed to be funding, that's still ridiculous. And Citizen Vigilante, the Uwe Boll movie, it has now been released. And it's kind of going viral online because people are realizing how topical it is in tackling the issue of migrant crime happening in Europe, going largely unpunished. I'm going to be harkening back to the interview I did with the film's director, Uwe Boll, also going over some of the clips of the film. Honestly, check it out if you haven't already. But before we get into all of that, just a little reminder, the show is available as a podcast on all of the podcast platforms, essentially. So if you're an audio-only person, please check us out. I always have to make sure that I plug it because there's really bad discovery on the podcast platforms. It's not like YouTube or Rumble where you just have recommended clips and stuff. So basically, most of the time, if you happen on a podcast, it's because it's already popular or you found out about it another place. So that's why I'm pushing the podcast. And in return for you guys listening to the podcast, I promise to try to be as unshrill as possible. Okay, I'm not going to be yelling in your ear this episode. What? Shrillness? No, not for me. I would never. Little Mo Music from Rumble. Good to see you in the chat. He's one of my frequent detractors, but I always appreciate him tuning in and giving some pushback where he thinks it's necessary. So let's start off with the Daily Wire Ben Shapiro news, because this is what's been blowing up, at least on my timeline. So we have this article from Semaphore, exclusive. The Daily Wire is in talks to take on at least $100 million in strategic investment with an eye on an IPO. Now, it's really interesting looking at the replies and responses to this article and this story, because it's kind of split. Some people are saying, oh my gosh, what a huge win for the Daily Wire. Daily Wire haters served. You guys were wrong. Ben Shapiro isn't failing. He's going to be raising like $200 million bajillion dollars. Other people saying, hang on, this kind of proves what everyone was saying, that the company is in trouble. So let's go over what the facts are to the best of our ability. And it's also, I've also heard people say that even this article from Semaphore talking about this was likely a planted story, something that maybe an insider leaked on purpose to try to gain like momentum and buzz for any potential IPO or to generate interest for investment. So let's look at what it says. Exclusive, Daily Wire under pressure seeks strategic investors, targets IPO. And for those of you who are not familiar with the term, an IPO is initial public offering. It's basically when a private company starts offering stocks to the public. A great example that we just saw is SpaceX. SpaceX was only, open to private investors. People held stocks because they were either, private investors, they worked there, or were directly offered ownership in the company, but then they went to the stock exchange and now anyone can buy stock in SpaceX. So apparently something like that might be in the cards for the Daily Wire in the future, as soon as this article is saying in a year and a half, which is pretty crazy. Hey, Fallen Radiant on Twitch. Hiya, friends. Good to see you, man. Also, yeah, he's using a little custom emote reminder. If you guys do subscribe on either Twitch or Kick, we have cute little Lauren emotes. So let's read this, the scoop. It says the Daily Wire, one of the biggest players in conservative media, is in talks to be on at least $100 million in investment with an eye on an initial public offering in a few years' time. The company, which was founded by conservative podcaster Ben Shapiro in 2015, has been in talks with High Mount Capital to lead a funding round that would value the company at $750 million, according to documents reviewed by Semaphore. The Daily Wire, which is trying to take on the New York Times for the right, or from the right, privately disclosed that it notched $48 million in adjusted EBITDA last year, but it's also failed to grow its subscriber base and to keep the ones it has paying, the documents show. So the people who are acting like this is a huge win for the Daily Wire, to be clear, the $750 million valuation that they're talking about, that does not mean the Daily Wire makes $750 million by any means. And even the documents that they have reviewed here, they confirm the fact that, as a lot of people have suspected, the Daily Wire is kind of shrinking in terms of its revenue and its audience. And we've seen that with Daily Wire hosts metrics like those of Ben Shapiro, his YouTube channel, I think it is. Obviously, it's public information what his views are, his audience base. It's shrinking. Now, if you look at the views that he's been getting, he's still getting easily 500,000 video views on YouTube every single episode. Those are good numbers. And I will be clear, that's not even to mention things like podcast listeners, which are measured separately. So his podcast, I think, it's not dying, okay? There's allegations that he's paying for views, potentially. But I think the issue with the Daily Wire is, even if you have shows that are doing well, like Ben Shapiro's show, guys, even if he is supplementing with some paid views, obviously it's a pretty big platform. It's a pretty big podcast. Okay. Same with Matt Walsh's show. However, Daily Wire is a huge company. They kind of started off pretty lean and mean as an independent digital company, which makes sense. But I think what's interesting to note is that over time, they've gotten some bloat, which happens as companies get older. They just had this big round of layoffs. I think it's reported that it was 15%. People alleged as high as 50 to 60%. There were no confirmations about that. But think about it. What are the most popular shows on the Daily Wire? Probably Ben Shapiro's show, Matt Walsh's, and then, Michael Knowles. They have a bunch of content, but I don't think, the Isabel Brown show or Reagan Conrad are the ones who are bringing in the big bucks. So it kind of seems, from an outsider's perspective, that right now they're kind of, Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro are helping to fund and supplement the less successful shows. Michael Knowles, I think he gets pretty good views, but he's not as popular, I would think, as someone like Matt Walsh. Now, I guess they're banking on the fact that maybe eventually Isabel Brown and Reagan Conrad will perhaps be as big as Candace Owens and Brett Cooper. Is that actually going to happen? I would say probably not. They've also just gotten this new Gen Z kid, Matt Nuclear. I had never heard of him before. And I don't mean that to be catty, but I honestly had not heard of him before. I think he's big on TikTok. The only reason I'm even aware of this is because I saw a Will Sexton video, and I think Beardson also did a video about that. Oh yeah, Andrew Clavin. He's on there as well. But these are hosts that they don't command the kind of audience that Candace Owens does or Tucker Carlson does. So when I see this $750 million valuation, I mean, personally, I'm skeptical of it. This is basically what these investment bankers are hypothesizing, that when they do an IPO, that's what they think that they could get, that they could, maybe sell their stock for. Look, crazier things have happened, but we'll keep reading. It says, High Mount, which was funded by two former Koch Industries employees, has been helping the Daily Wire to shop around the investment to at least four other firms, including two strategic investors. The company's bankers said it had fielded buyout offers above $1 billion, but that the Daily Wire's founders prefer to take a minority aligned investment to grow the business, according to the documents. Okay, so this is interesting. They're saying that they had offers above $1 billion, but I guess they would have had to people like Ben Shapiro and I think Jeremy Boring, the ex-CEO. I think he still owns like interest in the company, but they would have had to give up their shares and they said no because they would rather keep a small part of the company and take less money. I don't know. I guess maybe there's some investor out there saying like, yes, Daily Wire, $1 billion, I'll take it. I don't know. Far be it for me to call these people liars. It says those bankers said a $2 billion IPO could be achievable within approximately 18 months. The Daily Wire and High Mount did not respond to requests for comment, it's also noted. It says, once seen as the Fox News for the next generation of conservatives, the Daily Wire has stumbled over the last several years. Strategic missteps and skipping that. Fighting have led to key departures and audience attrition. The company parted ways last year with CEO Jeremy Boring, who had spearheaded its expansion into big budget scripted film series. The move came at a time that Shapiro clashed with former Daily Wire employee Candace Owens and other media personalities on the right, including Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, and Steve Bannon. The Daily Wire's paid subscriptions, which make up about 3/4 of the company's revenue, dropped by a third in 2025 from a year ago to roughly 850,000 people. Ad revenue, which is 20% of its revenue, has also dropped every year since 2022. Okay, so this is surprising to me. Dropping by a third in a single year, I think that goes to show that something is wrong. Something is the Daily Wire audience or former audience is clearly not happy. Because like I'll be real. I've been in conservative media for a long time, like a decade at this point. And it's true, it's cyclical. Okay, obviously, general election years, it's pumping. People are tuned in, advertisers are spending money. But then you have like off years. This 2026 midterms are coming up, and no one's really hyped about that because we all kind of expect Republicans are going to take an L. People are less interested. Now, does this mean that conservative media is dead? No. It just means that probably there's going to be less going on until 2028. All right. We have these cycles. That's understood. But a single year, a third of the people dipping out, it goes to show that there's a disconnect between what audiences believe and are looking for and what the Daily Wire is offering. Now, I think there's probably a couple different things going on here, but if you ask me, it has to do with the growing divide in the right between, America first, anti-interventionism versus, what people are viewing as the same old establishment neocon talking points. And Ben Shapiro specifically has been kind of the poster child for neoconservatism, 2.0. Let's go back to the Middle East. Let's have all of our interests wrapped up with Israel. People are not really interested in that by and large. Very low support for the Iran war, like shockingly low, like 16% or something from the most unbiased polls that I've seen. And so when your flagship show, the very public face of the company, is taking such an unpopular stance, obviously it's going to translate to people kind of tuning out, if you ask me. I think that's one of the reasons why it's probably not a good idea if you want to have this like general company that's as big as the New York Times to not have a single person so closely affiliated like as the face of it. Because what happens when that single person, in this case Ben Shapiro, starts to ride a wave of unpopularity? Then basically the whole company is screwed. Now, Ben Shapiro having unpopular takes right now, does that mean that Matt Walsh's show is any less good? No. Does that mean that Michael Knowles is any less popular? No. But everybody kind of gets swept up in the same boat. CIA torture camp. David Ellison, please save us. And yeah, so that's what a lot of people are kind of speculating here. We're going to go into what the responses have been, but David Ellison, we just kind of have seen that when it comes to, the establishment, the corporate press, these people protect their own. And so you have outlets like Barry Weiss's The Free Press, which had like 5 readers, but they talk about the right things, right? They toe the party line, the uniparty line. They have the right viewpoints. And so you see that the establishment picked it up for like $150 million. Now, obviously, it's not because they want the free press's audience, because like I said, it barely exists, but it's because this is the correct narrative. This is the right thing that people need to be saying. And, since Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, largely they push those same talking points, it's speculated that, the venture capitalists who also have those same interests, they will happily back this company to the tune of maybe hundreds of millions of dollars just to have the content there pushing the right agenda, even if the audience isn't really listening. It's not grassroots, it's not organic, it's astroturf content. I mean, in the most literal sense. The Raven 99, Matt Walsh and Nick Fuentes should do an interview. I think that would be super interesting. Matt Walsh is one of my favorite people at the Daily Wire. I like his show. I think he's got great takes. But let's be real, I don't think that would be allowed. Actually, I'm like 100% sure that would not be allowed. And I think part of the audience frustration with the Daily Wire is because of stuff like that. When the whole Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro thing happened, I think it kind of revealed that what a lot of people in conservative media have known for a long time, that the management at Daily Wire does exert some pretty heavy top-down control over its talents, over what they're allowed to talk about, who they're allowed to speak to. And that's kind of that paradigm is part of why independent media got so popular in the first place, why people started tuning out from outlets like Fox News. But the thing is, if the Daily Wire is just going to be the same, be the same gatekeepers of the same viewpoints and talking points, same agenda, then it kind of like, what good are you if you're just Fox News light? Why? Rumble rant. So want to say thank you to, what is that? Being a boomer. Evan626 on Rumble. Hey, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. But let's keep talking, because Semaphore has some more insights into what exactly is happening at the Daily Wire, financially speaking. And I'm actually kind of surprised that ad revenue only makes up 20% of of the Daily Wire's income, because if you've ever seen a Daily Wire show, they're reading ads like every other heartbeat, it seems. So they're pushing a lot. So the fact that that's only 20%, I guess that means that they're making more on subscriptions than I would have thought. But the thing was, like, obviously ad revenue, it's very dependent on who tunes into your show. And you could kind of trick advertisers by buying views. Like, sometimes if you have a sponsorship agreement, you might be guaranteed a number of views toward the sponsor. Or if you're trying to shop around for sponsors, it's good to show them, like, look, we got like 300,000 views or whatever it might be. But the thing is, if that doesn't actually translate to people buying products, sponsors will only be tricked for so long, right? Because if they're not getting a return on their investment into your show, then they're just going to stop eventually. So maybe you'll get a contract or two out of them. But if the audience isn't there, sponsors can tell, and they're not going to renew with you. Fallen rating on Twitch, 100%, not allowing any diversity of opinion is driving viewership away. Yeah. Unfortunately, for the people at the Daily Wire who, aren't Ben Shapiro, I think that's right. I think him being so pro-intervention in Iran, so ardently pro-Israel, we cannot question funding Israel, backing Israel, or otherwise you're just Hamas. That's turning people off. Semaphore, though, back to that article, says, despite boasting 3.2 million subscribers, recent YouTube videos have notched only tens of thousands of views, and it has begun to lose subscribers on that platform, according to political digital media analyst Kyle Tharp. Numbers go down. We have a graph here. Revenue growth has slowed or contracted. So subscriptions, they were booming. 2021, 2022, still good. But, growth slowed 2023, 2024, and then 2025 and into 2026, it's now contracting. Now they're actively losing subscribers. Advertising. Now, I guess I don't know where they're getting the advertiser numbers for, but advertising seems to be up in 2026, but 2023, like, the overall trend is not good. Says The View for the Daily Wire, High Mount ascribes some of the company's recent struggles to an epic medieval scripted series, The Pendragon Cycle, that, quote, did not fully resonate with the core Daily Wire audience and consumed the majority of the 2025 content budget, leaving fewer resources for new programming that could drive subscriber acquisition and marketing. The Daily Wire, it says, spent $50 million on the effort, the memo said. Oh, so they are talking about the Pendragon Cycle. If you guys are not into Daily Wire lore, for your information, the Pendragon Cycle was a book series that apparently former CEO Jeremy Boring was really interested in. And so as part of their push into entertainment media, they bought the rights to it in order to adapt it. And Jeremy Boring was so interested in the project that he actually took a leave of absence from serving as CEO to act as the showrunner, producer, and in some episodes, director of this series, The Pendragon Cycle. Now, we have never gotten a firm confirmation of exactly how much that series cost the Daily Wire. We've known it was tens of millions of dollars. Here they're saying $50 million, which is like weird. That is a budget where you could actually be like a regular TV show, not just some sort of Daily Wire project. So Jeremy Boring spent $50 million making this series. And it's kind of just accepted by everybody that it was not a good performer. Even like Jeremy Boring, who has left the Daily Wire over a year ago at this point, he now has his own podcast show, which I think is honestly like no shade to him, but I think it's a better fit for him probably than being the CEO. It always kind of seemed that he wanted to be in front of the camera. I mean, he inserted himself into the Daily Wire's like PR in a way that is strange for most CEOs. Like, who's the CEO of The Blaze? You don't even know because it's a CEO. It's usually not a public facing role. But Jeremy Boring went so far as to call himself the God King, like, which is fine. But clearly that is someone who also has an eye for the spotlight. And so, him being a podcast host that I don't know him well, but I feel like that's probably a better match for what he was interested in. Anyway, he spends $50 million on the Pendragon Cycle making it. I've not seen it, but apparently from what I've heard, it actually is good, which is great. But it turns out that people aren't really willing to subscribe to the Daily Wire in order to get Ben Shapiro's show and this epic fantasy series, which makes sense. And I do think that conservatives, we need to make more of an effort to be part of the culture, part of entertainment media. But if you ask me, and no one from the Daily Wire has asked me, by the way, oh yeah, Axel Foley, Mr. Bircham curse. Did you guys see Mr. Bircham? That was the Daily Wire's answer to adult animation like Family Guy. It was not good. I did a video of it back when I had Mediaholic channel on YouTube, and it was not only was it not funny, but also like it was bad in most ways. The voice acting is probably the only part where it's like, yeah, this is fine. But it wasn't funny. It was probably 15 years too late to be considered edgy. And also even the animation was terrible. It kind of seemed to me like by the third episode, they ran out of budget and or time. And so the frame rate dropped and it was a disaster. But anyway, I think it's great that the Daily Wire had designs to go into entertainment media. But the problem is that their whole thing was we want non-politicized content, yet they were still marrying their entertainment content with their political podcasts. And so entertainment content like a medieval epic fantasy, that stuff is expensive to make. And I think if you're going to try to do that stuff, the fact of the matter is you need an audience base bigger than Ben, who's interested in Ben Shapiro, whoever is interested in Matt Walsh. No shade in this instance to Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro, but it's like, put it this way. If MSNBC were to make this epic fantasy series akin to Game of Thrones, and you could only watch it by subscribing to MSNBC Plus online, the Rachel Maddow station, how many conservatives do you think would be interested in? Even if they promise that, hang on, this isn't like progressive propaganda still. And also Barry Weiss was the one who was directing it. Like how many of you guys would pay to see that, would sign on to MSNBC's subscription platform in order to watch that? Not a lot of people, right? And so if I think what they should have done was try to like create a subsidiary or a side brand. And they in their defense, they they did try something like that with Bent Key. Do you guys remember Bent Key? It was the Daily Wire's I guess family programming effort that they ended up just closing down. I think fired everybody who was associated to the project. It still kind of lives on the Daily Wire platform from what I understand, but no one's working on it. They're not producing new content. They should have done something like that from the beginning. Try to divorce it as much as possible from the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro specifically so they could have wider audience base. And the thing with stuff like Benke, why I think that didn't work out, they had initially said, oh, we're investing $100 million into kids' entertainment. Obviously, I don't think that happened. But I think the problem there was they were looking at conservative parents and asking them, hey, what do you want in a show? As opposed to actually trying to interest kids. I mean, and ideally, what it should be is that the kids' show should be approvable by the parents, but it still needs to attract kids. A Bluey is just a genuinely good kids show, and I don't think they ever struck that balance right. Axel Foley on Rumble never got that Brett Cooper movie. Oh yeah, so Brett Cooper, she also. I mean, this is the long list of fumbles that the Daily Wire has made in trying to get into entertainment media. You guys remember they announced that Brett Cooper would be starring as a Snow White in a Snow White movie that was meant to compete with Disney's Snow White movie. That never ended up getting made. Okay, that never ended up getting made, and Brett Cooper ended up leaving the Daily Wire. And I think it's kind of partly because Brett Cooper had, from what I understand, conflict with Jeremy Boring specifically, because she did publicly tweet out that she was kind of happy when he left. But also, I think they honestly just ran out of money after spending all of the money on the Pendragon cycle. So it hasn't worked out. I think a good example of conservative entertainment media done right is probably something like Angel Studios, right? Because they are just entertainment. There's no Angel Studios. Here is our very politically charged and divisive podcasts that we're going to associate with our entertainment stuff. And like, I'm a politically charged divisive podcast too, but I'm not also going to be like, hey, here's a movie under the same branding. I need everybody to watch it or else it's going to cost me a lot of money. I think they do good, right? And they've had mainstream success with things like Sound of Freedom and some of their like other projects. I think they have the right approach. Seductive Roost on Twitch. Wasn't there some shady stuff with Brett Cooper's departure? Like her best friend immediately replaced her or something? Yeah. And so, I mean, this article, the Semaphore article, kind of alludes to it, in addition to, I think, the financial missteps the Daily Wire made in trying to get into entertainment programming, but not really having the quality of the content to back it up. And also, Ben Shapiro being increasingly divisive, even on the right. You also have these internal dramas that, don't necessarily reflect well on your company. So not only did they have the very public Candace Owens departure, then you also have whatever happened with Brett Cooper. And like a lot of this is speculation because like Brett Cooper has an NDA, let's be real. And I think unlike Candace Owens, she probably doesn't have like a lawyer on retainer ready to go because she's constantly like fielding all these lawsuits. But apparently Brett Cooper didn't get along with Jeremy Boring. And once Brett Cooper announced that she was leaving, her producer, Reagan Conrad, who I think was also her maid of honor, she was supposed to go with Brett and work on her show. But then Jeremy Boring, so the legend goes, I don't work for the Daily Wire, so this is just what people say online. Take it with like a whole heaping spoonful of salt. Jeremy Boring then went to Reagan and offered her a lot of money in order to stay on and be Brett's replacement, which is kind of like, that's a pretty scummy thing to do. And I mean, in return for that, what has happened is that the comment section, which used to be Brett Cooper's show, it basically died, right? Daily Wire owned that YouTube channel. It had millions of subscribers because Brett Cooper was getting millions of views. Once she left, I think at this point, Reagan Conrad was getting like 10,000 views an episode, which is like, that's not a lot. I mean, that's a lot if you're an independent creator. That puts you on the upper echelon of people getting YouTube views. But if you have Daily Wire backing and an entire production team behind you, plus advertising dollars, and all this money is undoubtedly being spent on your show, 10,000 views an episode, you are not making money. You are actively losing the company money. And I think it's basically confirmed that that project was a failure, because now I think Reagan Conrad, she basically has her own channel and own show with the Daily Wire now, just called Reagan Conrad, not affiliated with the comments section at all. And I think that was probably always the best call, instead of trying to replace Brett Cooper with this other girl who's clearly not Brett Cooper. If you want to hire other talent, just give them their own show. Don't try to subvert or co-opt Brett Cooper's what she has made as her brand. Fidget Guy on Rumble, Ben Shapiro, and Jeremy Boring have incessantly stalked and defamed Candace Owens since she left the network. Yeah, I think that also doesn't really reflect the best for the Daily Wire. And I don't even think you need to be a Candace Owens stan to think that when a talent or an employee leaves a company, that it's kind of weird, and I would say bad form, for then the company to be like crap talking that person. It's just like, I personally wouldn't go that route. AV3103, Lauren, do you think a better version of the Daily Wire could be made? You, Nick Mayan, Zerka, LOL. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with my lore, but personally, I'm probably just gonna sit out being part of any network or company. Didn't really work out for me the last time that I tried it. So I'm just over here now in my own little corner of the internet, minding my own business, trying to keep my head down as much as possible. I really have no desire to be like part of something bigger. Hey, maybe things will change in the future, but for now, it's just like I'm good. I don't want to trudge into all of that. I've been yapping for like 30 minutes, and we are not even done the semaphore article. I apologize, you guys. Okay. Yeah, the view from the Daily Wire. So yeah, they say they've spent 50 million on that project, the reconstruct. Oh, sorry. And so with all the layoffs that we had a few weeks or months ago at this point at the Daily Wire, which we covered, it says the restructuring also created a clear leadership chain of command and clarified the media company's business priorities. High Mount, an investor in the sports and comedy media company Dude Perfect, envisioned significantly expanding its consumer products division, which already includes Daily Wire endorsed household goods like Jeremy's razors. It says the NYT has done an excellent job of expanding the value of its subscription beyond core news by adding games, cooking, Wirecutter product reviews, The Athletic, and audio content, creating multiple daily touch points that justify a premium price and reduce churn, it said. Daily Wire has the opportunity to follow a similar playbook for its audience. It says as part of the restructuring, Shapiro agreed to take less podcast money for more equity in the company, and the company planned to hire 5 emerging talents to produce podcasts and social media content. That's interesting. I wonder if Matt Nuclear is already part of those 5, because we talk a lot about Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, obviously. Andrew Klavan is also a talent that has been at the Daily Wire, I think, since the beginning. Candace Owens left. Brett Cooper isn't there anymore. But they also have a string of younger talents. Oh, and the Morning Wire podcast. People don't really talk about it, but it's one of the top news podcasts consistently. And that's just kind of like their NPR equivalent. It's not commentary, it's just straight news. And so the Daily Wire still has these individual shows that I'm sure do really well, but it just kind of seems like their efforts to branch out haven't been successful. And so what I'm sure is happening is that the more successful shows are subsidizing the less successful shows. Like Isabel Brown, Reagan Conrad, Matt Nuclear, he just came on, but these are talents that I think the Daily Wire is trying to push to be the new Brett Cooper, Candace Owens equivalent. I don't think it's working so far. Lil Mo Music, I think they are counting Matt Nuke. Yeah. Yeah, who else? Is there any, have I missed? Because I don't really watch the Daily Wire. So have I missed any other new talents that have come on? I'm not even sure. It says the memo also said the company will increase its editorial investment to $6.4 million a year from $2.4 million and boost headcount to 67 from 22 as it expands beyond politics into breaking news, investigative journalism, national security, business, sports. Okay, I think that is cool. here's the thing. There's not a lot of money to be made if you're just doing written news. It's a money sink. Ask anybody who like writes. Writing is almost always a money sink. And the real good writers, they're not going to work for you anyway because they can make more money on Substack subscription models that they own. But if you have other content, it is nice to include written stuff kind of just as an added bonus for your subscribers. Oh, it says it also plans to host a series of events this week at the annual Cannes Lion Ad Festival. Interesting. Okay, it says even if the $1 billion price tag or the potential IPO price remain far-fetched for a business that relies heavily on a handful of individual personalities like Shapiro, the Daily Wire's significant paid subscription business easily makes it one of the biggest players in the era of political digital media. The last several months have clearly shaken the confidence of some investors, but the previously unreported financials suggest the publication's audience decline could be a blip attributed more to a reduction in content and paid marketing dollars. So, I mean, mixed bag, I'm guessing. But let's look now at what people are saying online. So take from Tim Pool, it says Daily Wire has 771,000 monthly paying members. Free Press had 100K and sold for 150 million. Daily Wire is about to get paid. So let's see. 771 monthly paying members. How much is that? Let me get out my calculator. How much is a Daily Wire subscription? Let's say $5. That seems around right. So 771,000 times 5 times 12. I mean, $46.2 million on like paid subscriptions alone. That is a lot of money. But then it kind of like how many people work for you? How much bloat is there in the company? The company is still making money, but yeah, if you spend your entire year's revenue plus on a single fantasy series that doesn't do well, that's gonna cause some long-term problems, I think, for the company. Yeah, Lee Katz on Rumble. If you're looking for investors, it's because you need money, and that's because you're not bringing in business. That's true. Inevitable China on Rumble per month is $15. What? $15 per month for a Daily Wire subscription? That's insane. Who's paying that? Shrill. That is a lot of money. I'm sorry, I did not know. That is like as much as Netflix or Hulu. That's crazy. I mean, you got to really like the Daily Wire to pay that. The Raven 99 on Rumble. Did you see that hiring Matt Nuclear is some random guy from Jubilee? Yeah, that's what I mean. So that Matt Nuclear person, I don't mean to be hating on him. I have not watched enough of his content to be like, but it just, when the Daily Wire and Candace Owens partnered together, that to me made sense. She's a huge talent. Matt Nuclear, I mean, I guess it's kind of like maybe they're seeing that it's better to get an up and coming talent, invest in them, be part of their growth. And it's much less expensive than trying to bring on someone who already has their own audience, maybe. Yeah. AV3103 on Rumble. When I had a Daily Wire, I had to cancel LOL 2 to 3 times. W shrill. Yeah, I mean, that is just insane. I'm sorry, that's crazy. AF Post, the Daily Wire's paid subscriber base fell from 1.26 million in 2024 to 771,000 in 2026, bleeding almost 500,000 subscribers in 2 years. Yeah. Mario Nawfal on Rumble, on X, the Daily Wire is in serious trouble. Ben Shapiro's company is desperately shopping for over $100 million in strategic investors and aiming for an IPO within the next 2 years. Def Noodles breaking. Daily Wire is about to spend $100 million buying views. So yeah, and this was going kind of viral online. So the Daily Wire, from what I understand, they have like a 24-hour stream. And that stream gets like 7 people watching. Now, does that mean that 7 people would be watching a new Ben Shapiro episode, a new Matt Walsh episode? No, but I think it just kind of goes to show, like, if you think that the Daily Wire is able to rival something like regular Fox, that's obviously not true. Like Fox streams or airs 24/7, say with MSNBC, they get more than 7 views. Yeah. Mactronic Man on Twitch. Good to see you again. Thanks for being here. He says, I used to watch the Shapiro podcast every day, but after the start of the Iran war, I had to just stop. The gaslighting is unbearable. The new redneck on Rumble, Netflix is a lot more than $15 per month. Not if you have ads, fancy man. Not if you have ads, which by the way, even if you pay for like a subscription to the Daily Wire, you're still getting their native ad reads in the show. You're still going to have Ben Shapiro talk about whatever Noble Gold or ExpressVPN. So it's not like you can opt out of their ads. Inevitable China on Rumble, $21 a month for all access and $1,500 for a lifetime one-time payment subscription. What the heck, man? Who on earth is paying that $1,500 for a lifetime Daily Wire subscription? You really got to believe in the cause to give Ben Shapiro $1,500, man. That's crazy. That's a lot of money. Yeah. Will Summer, who by the way is an asshole. Hate this guy. But he has a good point here. Daily Wire IPO would be pretty bold given that subscriptions are going way down. AF Post, they're pointing out that on platforms like X and IG, AF Post largely outperforms the Daily Wire. Yeah, and Melian Refugee. Ever wonder why the Daily Wire lost a third of their subscriptions right when USAID funding dried up? Probably nothing. Do we posit? Is that a conspiracy that maybe the Daily Wire was being astroturfed by USAID? I don't know, but I think look, Daily Wire, yeah, they are independent media technically, but 100% they are in line with like the Fox News viewpoint. And so I mean, Nick Fuentes has made this point on his show. When it comes to like needing investment, the corporate press, their backers, they are not going to let the Daily Wire fall because, yeah, hopefully the Daily Wire will make money, but I think it also serves a useful purpose of spouting the right talking points to an audience that maybe Fox News doesn't get. And so I don't want to call like a propaganda tool, but as a form of public messaging, if nothing else, yes, there are investors who will happily pay for the Daily Wire's service, even if it may not offer them a financial return. Let's just say that. Kamavinga09 on Kick, what is your religious background, if you don't mind me asking? So I am Christian. I was kind of raised Easter Christmas Catholic, not super devout family. But then when I got to college, I became born again. And ever since then, I've attended Baptist church. I'm not like super hardcore into like denominationalism. And I roll my eyes when I see Christian denominations fighting and hating each other. Not that I don't think that the doctrinal and like dogmatic differences between different Christian denominations aren't important to hash out and discuss. But I've legit seen like Protestants hating on Catholics, Catholics hating on Protestants to the point where it seems like they forget that atheists exist, that Muslims and Jewish people who aren't Christian at all and deny Christ's divinity exists. Like, as Christians, we can discuss our differences and we should be trying to get to the root of Christianity and the truth. But I don't think we should ever lose sight of the fact that we are ultimately all Christians and therefore brothers and sisters. And so I refuse to take part in the Christian sectarian fighting, basically. Divergent THG, another reason why not to do religion. You can say not to do religion, but I don't think that's a reason to not do Christ and not do the Bible, by the way. Mactronic Man on Twitch, denomination matters quite a bit. Strong correlation with certain denominations and educational attainment as well as socioeconomic status. My bro, you're just talking about things that overlap with race, by the way. Coach/student on X, always happy to see an X chatter. Can you please bring back the film reviews you used to do, but here on Twitter? Thank you and sending love to your whole family. Actually, by the way, we saw how much you guys enjoyed the last Supergirl clip that I did. And so I'm actually maybe tonight going to go see it, and I will be doing a review with Papa Chen. So for sure, and that review probably won't be part of a stream. I want to get it out sooner rather than later, especially if I'm seeing it Wednesday. It only releases Friday, but that will be going out on Twitter, Rumble, Facebook, wherever. Joker625 on Rumble, when are you converting to orthodoxy, Lauren? And so here's the thing. I know some people get really mad when like people say something, you should convert to this. I appreciate every effort to convert me because I know that means you guys care about me and you want me to be following the right path, which in your view might be Orthodoxy, Catholicism, whatever. So it doesn't offend me. And I, of course, hope to convert everyone to, Protestant Calvinism. Big believer in the five solas over here. But one of my issues, actually, probably my biggest issue with Orthodoxy and Catholicism, there are things that I don't like about either denomination, but they're not necessarily something that would prevent me from being Catholic or Orthodoxy if I thought it was real, is the view toward Mary. And I think that's probably one of the biggest issues Protestants have with the Orthodox and the Catholic Church. I have not been sold on the view that the Catholics and the Orthodox take toward Mary regarding her perpetual virginity, immaculate conception, things like also the practice of praying to Mary. So again, I'm not going to be like spending this stream like ragging on Catholics or Orthodox, but that's just kind of why I'm personally not Catholic. Although like I have tons of Catholic family, and honestly, I probably go to Catholic mass more than actual Catholics at this point. Like day reps on Rumble, the Pope is a globalist and a Marxist. That's a problem. And yeah, it's interesting because I hear a lot of Catholics talk about why we need the church authority, but simultaneously, a lot of these Catholics are people who don't really like the past several popes. So, yeah. Anyway, we're moving on from the inter-Christian fighting. Let's talk about intergovernmental fighting and U.S. aid. So, kind of very, very shortly after Donald Trump took office, a bunch of news, or even before he took office, I think in December of 2024, a bunch of news came out over all of this USAID funding that was basically going to fund leftism worldwide, including in America. USAID was funding left-wing outlets to the tune of like millions and millions of dollars. And this was really ironic to me because this is exactly what I was being kind of persecuted for, the idea that I'm a propagandist, yada, 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 for government. That's actually what USAID was, in fact, doing. It was funding outlets like worldwide, like the BBC, Associated Press. And, hopefully the USAID dollars came with no strings attached. They just cared about the cause. And they weren't trying to control any narrative. I think that's unlikely, but there you go. So this is still a topic of conversation because people like Ro Khanna in Congress and just, leftists in general, they are now saying that cutting the USA dollars, which is one of the first things that Trump did, they established DOGE, Department of Governmental Efficiency, and, they were doing all of these cuts. Now, apparently those cuts weren't permanent outside of USAID, but the USAID, shut down that. I think that fell under the State Department. And so Marco Rubio was able to, I guess, cut all of that permanently. But from the account Pirate Wires on X, Saturday, it says Silicon Valley Congressman Ro Khanna sat down with the left-wing podcaster Jennifer Welch, who previously cheered on those celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk, to discuss the future of progressive governance. In a now viral clip, Khanna claimed Elon Musk possibly sentenced to death 4.5 million children by dismantling USAID and demanded he be subpoenaed once Democrats retake power. It says the number traces back to a Lancet study published last summer predicting 14 million deaths by 2030 from USAID cuts. But the study assumes a fake word, one where DOGE's cuts stay frozen through 2030, where the State Department's life-saving waiver doesn't exist. It does. And where Congress never refunds USAID relief, it did. Okay, so to be clear, I am not someone who supports something like USAID because I think it's a waste of taxpayer money. I don't think the federal government has a mandate to take taxpayer money from Americans or borrow it from China in order to send it overseas to fund, I don't know, trans children shows or whatever. But that is exactly what USAID was doing. And so Elon Musk clarified, because being accused of basically killing 4.5 million children is a big deal. He says all DOGE required was contact information of the recipients to confirm that the funding was not fraudulent. No validated medical funding was stopped. Anything that appeared to be legitimate life-saving funding continued and is now administered by the State Department. If anyone had actually died as a result of Doge, their names would be worldwide headline news. On the other hand, USAID did help fund the Wuhan Virology Institute, which caused the deaths of millions and the revolution that started the Russia-Ukraine war. And so, he's making the point, as did the pirate post, that if something was actually life-saving, that funding continued. I'm going to go a step further and say, I'm sorry, but why is any of this the responsibility of the US taxpayer? Why isn't it the responsibility of the people in those countries to take care of their own people? Or even like, why isn't France stepping up to do more? Why isn't Germany stepping up to do more? Why does it all fall specifically on the shoulders of Americans who themselves are struggling to afford groceries, to pay for medical bills? Why? Why is that? I mean, am I allowed to say that, I don't know, personally Emmanuel Macron is responsible for the deaths of all these millions of kids because he's not personally funding the bill? Why is it always just the implied role of Americans to save the world with their tax dollars? And simultaneously, by the way, the press now that is lamenting, the global press that is lamenting the halting of USAID funding, they're also the first ones that kind of stoke anti-Americanism overseas. Right. We just saw this with the World Cup and Europe. Everyone loves to hate America and Americans, but also they implicitly recognize that Americans are doing all of this good worldwide, because when Americans stop footing the bill for everybody, they get really mad. It's like, well, it's like America can't win. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. Okay. If all of these European socialists care this much about the third world, maybe they can start taking care of them, you know? The JLS 90 on Rumble, USAID was the lefties' pay pig. This is the real reason they hate Trump. 100%. I mean, I don't think we can overstate the amount of corruption that was going on in USAID. And actually, let's look at it. This is a post from ALX on X. All these different headlines. He says this is the real reason they're mad at you, Elon Musk and Doge, for shutting down USAID. And it's just all of USAID official and 3 corporate executives plead guilty to decade-long bribery scheme involving over $550 million in contracts. Former contractor of USAID-funded program extradited to the United States, convicted and sentenced for conspiracy to obtain grant money through fraud. Director on USAID project arrested for 9-year fraud scheme. Former USAID employee pleads guilty to CARES Act fraud. It's all fraud. Fraud. And that's why they're so upset. And it's insane. So like the IRS is going to be up your ass if you don't report like $600 or whatever it is. But simultaneously, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars are going missing through the government. No one's looking into that. There's no accountability. Most people get away with it. OSS Ninja on Kick, America is the new Rome, and we will always be remembered as such. Yeah. Divergent THG on Twitch. Everybody hates on America because America turned into a joke due to lack of accountability on most citizens with their bread and circus. I mean, there is a lot of bread and circus going on, for sure. See Warner 312 on Twitch, insane. We were literally paying to make the world more woke with US tax dollars. Yes, 100%. And people have kind of been pointing out how ever since the USAID funding was kind of came under scrutiny and in some places stopped. It hasn't stopped entirely, but some programs were stopped. It does seem like woke is kind of faltering, right? Or at least, controlled opposition maybe. People are saying, hey, Daily Wire is kind of faltering after USAID. Is that a coincidence? I mean, there was a viral and wokeness post on 7 Latin American elections since USAID was defunded. Chile, far right in quotes. Bolivia, right wing. Peru, right wing. Ecuador, right wing. Honduras, right wing. Colombia, right wing. Costa Rica, right wing. And another post to that effect. Socialists trying to win in Latin America with no USAID funding. And it's the gif of Homelander trying to fly, but he has no powers. It kind of does seem like a lot of leftist explosion over the past several decades was astroturfed. It was USAID funding, government funding. And people have, collected some of the most outrageous things that USAID money was going to. The White House reveals shocking USAID spending scandal, $1.5 million for DEI programs in Serbia. I don't think Americans would support DEI programming funding even in America, let alone in Serbia. $70K for DEI musical in Ireland, 2.5 million for electrical vehicles in Vietnam, 47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, 32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru, 2 million for sex changes in LGBT activism in Guatemala, 6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, millions to Eco Health Alliance, hundreds of thousands of meals reportedly went to Al Qaeda linked fighters in Syria. Like, that's insane. Why aren't more people being prosecuted or at least reported on for that? Yeah, Marco Rubio, who obviously he heads up the State Department, so USAID directly under him. He says, "Here, let's watch what he had to say about the USAID cuts."
First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation. I don't regret psychosocial support services.
I raised Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond,
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes.
I chose to use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use
suspend
my time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
They don't
I
want
can
him
go on.
reading
There's
all
other
of the
things here. We
ridiculous
spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means.
Yeah, it's all just ridiculous things. Okay, that's funny. Lee Katz on Rumble. Sex changing our enemies isn't such a bad idea. Maybe USAID was playing the long game. They were trying to like subvert all of these other nations with leftism to make it weaker. You know, like people have been hypothesizing China was trying to do to the West through TikTok. Maybe that's actually what USAID was doing. Yeah. Axel Foley on Rumble. Honestly, the Trump admin should use USAID to fund right-wing NGOs instead. Fight fire with fire, especially in Latin America. Well, I mean, like, at least don't fund the leftist stuff, right? The anti-American stuff, you'd think. Oh, yeah, and this is crazy. So more from Katie Miller. Here's what Doge found the USAID money was being spent on. $4.8 million to Ukraine's public affairs office in Kiev to fund social media influencers. $2.1 million to Paraguay to enhance their border security. Ukrainian women-led designers to fly to the Paris fashion show. $2 million on transgender surgeries, hormone therapy, and gender-affirming care in Guatemala. $3 million to promote girl-centric climate action in Brazil. Like, this is all $20 million for a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. $6 million to boost sustainable tourism in Egypt, plus $50 million for Tunisia's tourism. $88 million to help Afghans farm, which just happened to include poppy fields, i.e. the CIA and USAID were like running opium probably. Fidget guy, I never liked Marco Rubio until he became U.S. Secretary of State. Okay, so real talk, he has been an amazing pick for Secretary of State. Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance, I think they've done great jobs. Like, is this administration perfect? No, but these are 2 real solid picks. And that's why looking forward to 2028, obviously a lot of people are saying that it's going to go back to Democrats having the presidency, which is kind of how the cycle usually goes. But if you actually look at the players who are currently on the board, the Republicans have 2 solid contenders, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, both competent, both have already been vetted, right? They have no surprise scandals that might come out. They're broadly liked. Versus the Democrats, who the Democrats have. Gavin Newsom, he's good looking, but he's an actual psychopath who has ruined not only San Francisco, but California as a whole. You also have, I don't know, Hunter Biden, Kamala Harris, like what? Who's it gonna be? Yeah, Elon Musk, quote, needs to answer for 4.5 million kids sentenced over to death over Doge. So I have seen it floated that maybe Elon Musk should be suing Rokon because that's a pretty big charge. It says the dismantling of USAID has already ensued in roughly 60. I don't know if that's the right word, has already ensued in roughly 60,000 deaths, about 400,000 of them children in poor nations abroad, according to Boston University epidemiologist Brooke Nichols. Why is it America's job to save and fund the world? Why? OSS Ninja on Kick Lauren, you don't understand. Us Americans do not want JD Vance. I'm just talking about what polling is showing. So this is not even my personal opinion. Broadly, JD Vance is a pretty popular guy in the Republican Party. Here, this is an interesting clip, though. This is Africana Chihombori Kwao. I am committing a microaggression trying to pronounce this woman's name, but she speaks about the role of USAID in Africa.
We need to understand the real reason why USAID is in Africa. Their sole purpose was to act as if they're coming to rescue Africa. They're coming to fill in the gaps in government services, gaps in education, gaps in healthcare. They are coming in claiming that they're introducing grassroots initiatives that are going to help the people. And so they use that as a way to go into the most remote parts of Africa. They're talking about government advocacy. When you look at it on paper, it all looks really good, but they're actually wolf in sheep's clothing. They are using that open access sounding humanitarian to constantly destabilize governments. I can tell you right now, the majority of African leaders, and not just African leaders, but leaders in the developing world, are celebrating the exit of USAID.
Yes, 100%. 100%. This is like it's the crooked NGO backdoor channels that make all of these different politicians and bureaucrats rich. USAID has nothing to do with actually helping people. It's nefarious. It's nefarious funding that's made all of these different politicians rich. And Elon Musk, one of the best things he has done is try to cut government spending. Now, unfortunately, the swamp fights back, but at least he tried. And I would love to see Republicans take a bigger stance on trying to cut all this spending. But unfortunately, a lot of them are also making money too. So Fidget Guy on Rumble, USAID used taxpayer money to promote immorality like homosexuality and transgender policies in foreign countries. Yes, it did. Let's talk now about, should we do Lizzo or Citizen Vigilante? Let's talk about Lizzo. So you guys remember Lizzo, the plus size singer and body positive activist. Well, she was super popular a few years ago. Like, you could not listen to a radio station without a Lizzo song coming up. Her songs were all over TikTok. She was basically everywhere. And she was widely recognized by the industry as well. She won a bunch of Grammys. So it was not only just commercial success. She was selling a lot of records, but she was also being recognized. However, apparently things are not going so well. I don't want you to autoplay. Why is that happening? Apparently things are not going so well for her right now. She released a new album, and according to Rolling Stone, it sold less than 3,000 copies in the first week, which, spoiler, is not good, right? You want to be selling millions of copies, not 3,000. Industry insiders, it says, question whether it's a perceived betrayal of her fan base or lack of label support. So here we have this from Rolling Stone. Let's look at this. Lizzo's new album didn't even chart. What happened? It says there's no denying that Lizzo is a singular artist. No, I don't support Rolling Stone. I'm not giving you ads. After exploding on the scene in 2019, she went on to land a string of hits with the ubiquitous Juice, About Damn Time, and Good as Hell, picking up Grammys and other accolades along the way. And I will say here, I've talked about this before when I've mentioned Lizzo. I don't even think Lizzo's is bad music. I think her stuff is catchy. I do think she's musically talented, but I have to say, I think it's a mistake trying to wrap your brand up with activism if you're a singer, especially if your activism is body positivity and you're about to lose a bunch of weight, as we'll get into here. Not a traditional pop singer, she infused her music with funky horns, hip-hop grooves, and even the flute. She's an accomplished flautist, by the way. She over-indexed for bops, but was there a Lizzo sound? Depends on the track. Lizzo first began chipping away at her fifth studio album, Bitch, around 4 years ago. The album underwent a number of transformations. During that time, it was initially meant to be titled Love in Real Life, supported by a single of the same name and the disco pop track Still Bad, both of which arrived last year. While Lizzo was still making up her mind about what she wanted her next album cycle to embody, it seems the broader pop audience already made up its mind about her. It says within its first week, the album sold 2,600 copies and racked up just under 2.7 million on-demand streams. According to music data company Luminate, in its second week, sales dropped to 650 units, while streams dipped to just under 900,000. It's a steep drop from her previous album, 2022 Special, which debuted with 39,000 copies sold, 69,000 equivalent album units earned, enough for a number 2 debut on the Billboard 200. So you really can't emphasize enough how much of a drop-off this is for someone who the industry just couldn't get enough of. And
my label won't hang up posters.
Hang on. Yeah, everyone's talking about the drop off. Tim Pool's another good take. He says it was all USAID the whole time. I mean, is it that outrageous to think that maybe USAID was also trying in America to promote like Black musicians' body positivity through music? I don't think that that's crazy. And actually, people were mentioning a while ago, was the first time in literally at least a decade where there were no rap songs or rap albums, whatever it was, charting in the Billboard 200 or whatever it was. Is this even a conspiracy anymore? Or can we all admit this is probably exactly what happened? I do think that USAID, amongst other probable like NGOs, were astroturfing rap music, hip hop, artists like Lizzo into the music industry and our airwaves in order to mainstream hip hop culture. I think degeneracy as well. I don't think it was organic. Unit 2915. Hey, first time chatter on Twitch. Hi, Lauren. Hey, good to see you. Happy to have you here. Yeah, leg day reps, all rap, R&B, and pop is crap, as are the people who listen to it. I don't think it's fair to include pop with R&B and rap. Okay, these are two very different like musical styles and different cultures. Pop's been around for a long time. But yeah, I am very against hip hop, rap music. And it's like even people like, you know, there are groypers who are really in on Kanye and his music. And I get like, you know, Kanye is a special, and he is musically very gifted, but I don't think the right should be trying to mainstream rap music or hip hop culture at all. I think we should just be like, nope, no thank you. Okay, it's degenerate, it is. And it is subversive at its core. That's why I don't even approve, I mentioned this when I was talking about Shrek, I don't even approve of hip hop or like R&B references in kids or family entertainment. I'm not a fan of any type of like, oh, we're doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it's also rap. No, I don't want that. I think that whole entire culture, that genre is not family appropriate. I don't want that. Axel Foley, yay, is still the GOAT. Yeah, but it's degenerate music. I think we can appreciate that as well. C Warner 312, hip hop and rap is glorified promiscuity and crime 100%. 100%. I think we need to be cognizant and mindful of the media that we are consuming. And I think rap, hip hop, and even some like I grew up listening to a lot of rock, a lot of punk music. That some of that as well is spiritually detrimental. Like Billy Talent, this Canadian band, used to be one of my favorites when I was a teen. I've even been to see them live several times, but looking back, listening to that music, it's so angsty. It's very angry. It's not good for you. I could appreciate it, but I also have to recognize that, is it something probably healthy to be listening to? I would say no. Axel Foley, blasphemy. Hey, I'm just calling it like it is. It's true. Yeah. So anyway, all of these videos that keep trying to autoplay on my timeline, much to my chagrin, I will need to find out how to stop that. The reason why I have these clips here is because Lizzo has actually been taking things into her own hand and trying to market her own album herself, because it seems like she is not happy with the support, or rather the lack thereof, that her label has given her. So
okay, I promoted my album.
Here we go. These videos she's released where she's actually trying to do her own promotion. I mean, more power to her, right?
My label won't hang up posters, so I'll do it myself.
So yeah, she's literally just going out and trying to hang up her own posters. Good for her.
This is very hard, but it's very relaxing, like arts and crafts. One down, 12 more to go.
Okay, she's like out of breath trying to hang up her posters. That's kind of funny. But I will say here, look how much weight she has lost from her fattest. Let's look up pictures of Lizzo. She has lost so much weight, and good for her. And it's probably, yes, she's on Ozempic, but she's also previously kind of done videos looking at like exercising more, trying to eat better. And I think that's great that she's trying to get healthy, but apparently her fan base, she actually got flack for it, because she made this whole thing about body positivity, like fat is beautiful. And a lot of her followers were actually mad when she seemingly betrayed the movement by like trying to get healthy. But I like good. She looks much better. She's still, I would say, probably obese, morbidly so, but comparatively, this is much better. And I've always thought that she has a pretty face. And so, like, good for her trying to lose the weight.
Let's get it.
Yeah, so she's actually just like going and trying to put up her poster.
Life. My
Yes,
album
this one
just
as well.
dropped, and I don't think a poster's big enough, honey.
I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child.
Yeah, she's doing her own marketing. When do you see artists do this? Almost never, but I think it probably does. Like, why isn't her label promoting her album? Could it be because they don't have the USAID dollars to invest in marketing? Perhaps. Roman Prolapsky on Kick. She can move pretty fast for a big, and that's something shrillness. I'm sorry. That is something I've always recognized about Lizzo. Even when she was probably like 300 pounds, girl could move. She would be up there like dancing around. I was like, man, imagine how many calories it burns moving around 300 pounds on stage, even if those 300 pounds are your own body. That's a lot.
Could be worse.
And so anyway, despite all of the effort she's been trying to put into promoting her album, clearly it hasn't really amounted to much. And she did have a mild crash out.
Okay, I promoted my album and people on the internet clown me for it, so I don't know what to do. I promoted my album super hard and people were calling me a desperate flop, so I don't know, guys.
I think that's unfair. I think there's nothing wrong with an artist promoting your own album. If you're not going to promote your stuff, who else was going to do it for you? Great time, by the way, to remind everybody about the podcast. If you like podcasts, please listen to our podcast. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with Lizzo trying to promote her own stuff. But it is interesting to know why is there this
Life could be
seemingly
worse
in consumer habits. Yeah, this one user said, this is what happens when you rely on radio play gimmicks and sympathy instead of building a real loyal fan base. You can have your moment to shine, but when you flop this hard, it's very, very hard to recover. The sympathy has officially expired. Pack it up.
Hi, I'm Lizzo. I have an album coming out in 23 days, and I bet you nobody even knows that. I'll tell you why. Full disclaimer, last time I made a video like this, I got some hate on the internet because people were like, oh, she's just mad that she's flopping. But in person, in real life, real people in the industry came up to me and said, thank you for saying what you said because everybody else is too scared to say it. So I'm gonna end this disclaimer by saying, I don't really care what somebody on the internet who's never done this before has to say about it because you don't know what you're talking about, and I do. The algorithm-based way that social media functions now is destroying the music industry. Now, when I say the music industry, I don't mean music culture. I don't mean the good music that's out. I don't mean our ability to connect via social media to music. I'm talking about the actual industry that allows artists to sell their music for profit. Because if your algorithm is super serving you things out of order of when they're happening, then the general public has no idea when music is actually coming out. I have had several occasions where there were artists whose music I was actually looking forward to, I completely missed because I didn't realize it was out because my algorithm didn't tell me. And I don't want to blame everything on the algorithm. Of course, we curate our own reality. However, back in the day, which was maybe even just 5 years ago, we used to get things chronologically. Because of streaming and social media and our post-COVID chronically online society, most of music marketing is online. Not to mention budgets are, therefore, music marketing relies heavily on social media. But
is that a bad thing? Music marketing relying on social media? I mean, I think the reason why this might be bad for someone like Lizzo is because if you don't have advertiser dollars behind you, you kind of just have to rely on your fans to go viral, which is hard if they're mad at you because you're not fat anymore and they only listen to you because you're being body positive. I can see why that would be a problem for Lizzo, but that kind of overall seems like maybe a good thing for independent or emerging artists. Anyone can go viral now with a song. I mean, Nathan Evans he's that sea shanty guy. I've been listening to him a lot lately because his music is overwhelmingly no swear words or vulgarity, so I can listen to it around kids and family. But he, I think, only has a music deal because he went viral on TikTok, and it doesn't require any marketing dollars. So it's kind of become more meritocratic in a way. Maybe Lizzo doesn't like that though. It's not as easy to astroturf stuff anymore when like anybody can go viral just for being talented.
Ever since the algorithm has been showing us things out of order, baby, there's actually no way to successfully promote an album where everyone knows your album is coming. Now, mind you, when I say everyone knows your album is who want to see me on
I don't even know if that's accurate. I'm not on music TikTok, so I don't even know if that's right. But yeah, rip to Lizzo. Do you guys care? Have you listened to Lizzo's new album? Probably not. But yeah, I'm 100% pushing the conspiracy theory that a lot of hip hop, R&B, rap music is not as popular as it once was because USAID money has dried up. That is, I'm putting my name. I am co-signing that conspiracy theory. AB3103, Lauren, what do you think of Bad Bunny? I have never heard a Bad Bunny song in my entire life. I have no idea what his music is like. I think nothing of Bad Bunny. He is so far off my radar. Yeah. Liquid Poo Poo on Twitch. I think AI music is also having an effect. I haven't heard. The only good AI music that I've heard is when AI makes different covers of songs that already exist. Like if you want a rock version of this rap song or vice versa, AI is good at that. I haven't heard catchy AI music though. In fact, when I was trying to create an intro for the new show for Anathema, I was honestly looking for the perfect track. There was none that I found through licensing that kind of fit the vibe. And so I tried AI music and it was just a disaster. It was awful. It was like trying to get a tone-deaf toddler to create music. Did not work out. So ultimately, the track I ended up using was the track that we already had the rights to, which was actually created for the Tenet launch. But hey, we still had the rights to it, rights in perpetuity. So I repurposed it, which was also good because I had already paid for it. Yeah. Mactronic Man on Twitch, you didn't watch the halftime show. No, I don't watch football, especially not lately with the NFL. And I'm certainly not going to watch some sort of Hispanic Heritage Pride halftime show. Bigsy, video games, don't like that music really. 90s and early 2000s rap is what I prefer. See, I'm someone who, I grew up listening to a lot of the same music my dad likes, Papa Chen. So I like a lot of 50s, 60s, and 70s rock music. But then also, yeah, I was probably the biggest Green Day fan. I've seen them a bunch of times when I was a preteen, teenager, was really big into Blink-182 as well, like I mentioned, Billy Talent. Now most of what I listen to with kids, honestly, probably like Disney soundtrack music. But yeah, I couldn't even tell you what I listen to lately because anytime in the car, it's just my kids are picking what we listen to. Inedible China Rumble, do you like Michael Jackson? I was never a huge Michael Jackson person. He's okay. He's all right. Really into the Rolling Stones, though. I used to be into Britney Spears when I was a kid. Aaron Roth 989 on Twitch, Disney's woke mind virus slop. You're not wrong. But the classics, I mean, the Hercules soundtrack, goated. So good. So good. Even like up to, I would say, Princess and the Frog. Pretty good quality. But now, yeah, it's fallen off. Big drop off. But let's turn the page now to, what is it? Citizen Vigilante. So this is a film directed by Uwe Boll, who we had the pleasure of speaking to on stream a few weeks ago. If you missed that stream, go and check it out. He is surprisingly based. I was kind of like, when his PR team reached out to see if we wanted to interview him, and I was like, yeah, because I've been a big Uwe Boll fan for a long time. He did the Far Cry movie In the Name of the King. He's done some big stuff. And my brother and I, we would basically watch every single movie of his that came out. They're usually like very violent, the type of movie that does not get a good critical reception from like professionals, but that the audience tends to like. So I was like, yes, but also anytime I have someone on my platform or they associate with me, I'm always mindful of I'm a controversial person. I don't want my controversies, my scandals to reflect negative on anybody because I know that's how the world works. And, I was kind of like, oh, I'm kind of edgy. Is this going to be bad for Juve Bowl? Bro comes out swinging against the migrants. And I was like, oh, okay. Was not expecting that. Good for him. We ended up chatting for like an hour. So go watch that stream if you missed it. Axel Foley, that Mulan soundtrack. Mulan is my favorite Disney princess. She does not get enough credit for just being the best Disney princess. Like, she went to go fight a war for her country, for her family. She killed like a bunch of people. What has Cinderella done that's as cool as that? Mulan is the goated princess. And I don't just say that because of in-group preference. Also, banging soundtrack, okay? They got some bops in that soundtrack. And the soundtrack in Cantonese, Jackie Chan features, so hello, awesome. Camshaft 101 on Twitch. They aren't great movies, but sometimes they're so bad they're good. Yeah, so to that end, Juve Bowl has a new film that's out, Citizen Vigilante. It released June 19th. And it's not a nationwide release in theaters, but I think it is, you can buy it on streaming. So go and support the film. It's interesting though, because that film was banned in Germany, which we talked about Juve Bowl with, because basically what happens is the German rating system, they refuse to even rate his film. And because his film is not rated, that means it cannot be shown. So it's kind of like a passive aggressive way of banning it. You're not outright censoring it, but you're also saying, yeah, we're not going to see it because we're just going to ignore that it exists. And so now that the film is out, people are realizing just how based it is. This is from Citizen Vigilante, which is the name of the film. It stars Armie Hammer, who was kind of canceled, but is now back. I don't know if you guys remember, but he was accused of being a cannibal by some girlfriend because of some text. It's like, okay, man's probably a freak, but let's be real. He's not, there's never any proof that he was literally eating people. So there we go. There was an investigation to him. Nothing came of it. And hey, you know what? In this day and age, who hasn't been investigated, right? Am I right? So it says, Citizen Vigilante follows an American in Europe hunting criminals and officials amid migrant-linked crimes inspired by real cases like a 2016 Hamburg gang rape with light sentences. Released in limited U.S. theaters and on digital platforms, the film earned a no-writing KK ban in Germany, blocking cinemas, streaming, and sales over fears of inciting violence. Fans praise it as a cathartic truth teller with Hammer's intense performance and a 94% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, while critics slam it as a racist propaganda film and morally bankrupt. The controversy has boosted its buzz, with Bowl urging paid support over piracy. Yeah, so like 100%. If you are interested in watching Citizen Vigilante, go and buy it. Don't pirate it. Actually, like, put your money toward a film that you believe in, that is not going to treat you as like a conspiracy theorist, a far-right radical for having these views. Support art that you believe in. Okay, like Juve Bowl, he's not some big like corporation. He's doing these movies because he believes in them. Obviously, this is going to make him more controversial to work with than he already is. And he's actually talked about how in that interview we did, he mentioned how he can fund projects like this almost kind of like independently because he gets residuals from previous movies he's done. So he's allowed to pursue these passion projects. Good for him, though. OSS Ninja, I want a Jack Sparrow it. Guys, no, okay? We're not talking about like a Disney film or HBO. This is an independent film that like supports our belief system. So actually support it. Actually support it. So, okay, so this is, I don't think this is his official account. Yeah, Juve Bowl 9. So anyway, but I think this might be an official statement from him. It says, Citizen Vigilante is a small film I paid to get made. If you want a sequel, another Rampage film, or anything else quite like this that takes chances topically, you must put your money on it, or I can't afford to keep making them. If you support the film, actually support it by making a purchase, not piracy. Yeah, guys, we should be supporting with our dollars stuff that, we believe in. Otherwise, we can't complain when more conservative content doesn't get made. Okay, I have a hype chest on Twitch. I don't know what that is. I'm too much of a booner. Okay. What is that? Rewards chill girl emote. Okay, I'm sharing that on Twitch. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of a boomer. It's a hype train emote. Well, I don't know what that is either. I'm sorry. WG Giddens, first time chatter on Twitch. You're the lady that did the Tenet Media thing, right? The one and only, much investigated, often persecuted, but never prosecuted. I'm Lauren. Good to meet you. Okay, we also have like chat stuff happening on Kick. Why am I so incompetent with this stuff? Rage quit. Lauren, did you ever listen to Mike Park or his associated punk bands when growing up? Fueled by Ramen or Asian Man Records? I did. Okay, I'm not sure about Mike Park, but I did listen to bands that were under Fueled by Ramen. I think Cute Is What We Aim For was one of them. Was Paramore associated with them at one point? But yeah, I certainly did. Thank you so much for the Rage Quit chat. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah, Uwe Boll made some video game remake movies. I remember he did. He was actually kind of like the guy for video game movies for a while. Okay, so where were we? Oh yeah, let's continue with Citizen Vigilante. Okay, interesting. So there's this one person here saying people who are complaining that he, referring to Armie Hammer's character, spends the first half of the movie murdering white people and not migrants, fail to understand that it's hammering home an important premise. Always hang a traitor before you shoot an enemy. Ooh. And Tommy Robinson now, he's even sharing clips of the film. Banned video goes viral online. Citizen Vigilante is an action thriller described as a modern-day riff on Death Wish. Germany refused to give it a rating, effectively denying its release. Director of the film, Uwe Boll, said, it was a deliberate censorship decision. I hired a lawyer to complain about it, but we lost in a 6-2 vote as I was told that the film was inciting violence against migrants. And before any of you bedwetting loony lefties turn to me and say I'm inciting hatred, no, it's a film. A film inspired by huge political failures that have absolutely nothing to do with me, that I take absolutely no responsibility for. And it's interesting, Uwe Boll brought this up. There are vigilante films that get wide releases all the time. That's exactly what John Wick is. Why, though, because it's focusing on like migrant crimes, is vigilanteism suddenly not allowed in cinema? It makes no sense. Okay, let's watch this clip, though.
What was it? Traumatic integration?
We're all getting mental help now and support. We will be better in the future. I promise that.
It's the right answer. The only problem is that on your social media, since the event, I have not seen any regret or empathy. In fact, I think you said that she deserved to be raped.
What I mean is that they dress wrong and just make boys horny with their mini skirts. They show their legs and breasts.
You wrote that she deserved it.
I will delete it.
Are these the values you're teaching your children?
I teach him the values from Quran and these values from our family.
Well, if these are your values, that women in America and Europe deserve to be raped because of a dress code, why did you come here?
You know that we have several war in our country and we have a dangerous life. That's why we are here. And I think you know that.
Do you know what I think?
Why?
I don't think it was the good ones that got out of your country. I think it was the bad ones. And
yeah, you could see why Germany wouldn't like this.
You brought with you your archaic value system and your commitment.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty edgy for an action film. So apparently you can PayPal me, this is from Uwe Boll, $10 to help me refinance my film, Citizen Vigilante. I paid the film myself and took all the risk. I hope that this is the actual. I think this is. I think this is the, like, yeah, Uwe Boll 7, I think is the actual. Okay, so don't send any random accounts money. Download the film if you want to support it. And follow Uwe Boll 7 on X. That's the actual. Oh, Liquid Poo Poo on Twitch. Joe Rogan just talked about this in today's video. That's a pretty big endorsement. Joe Rogan talking about your film is definitely going to get more people watching it. Faceless Bounty Hunter. Lauren, the actor who plays the lead, has Hebrew letters tattooed on his chest. Are you talking about Armie Hammer? Because I know Uwe Boll mentioned that it was really hard to get actual like Muslim actors to appear in this film in these types of roles. And so for some of the actors are like Israeli, they just kind of look Middle Eastern, but they're not actually Muslim because they couldn't actually get anybody who was Muslim to be in this film because of the way it portrays Islam, which I think is pretty funny. Oh, we got some on Kick gifted subs. Thank you so much. What was that? Yeah, Big Love. Thank you for gifting a subscription. And that's the same. Yes. Okay, Armie Hammer apparently has the N in the name of God tattooed. Oh, I had no idea. I don't really know what that means for Armie Hammer. I don't know what Armie Hammer's background is aside from that. Like literally the only thing I know about Armie Hammer is that he comes from that Arm & Hammer company. So his family is like super rich. And also that he was accused of being a cannibal. Yeah. Data 12, may I make a movie to watch? Recommendations in the comments. Some were mandatory in college. Guess which ones? Yeah, I mean, Rumble Rant from Data 12. Go ahead and make the recommendations. Would you guys like an entire Citizen Vigilante review? Let me know if that's the case. So movies we're definitely going to be reviewing on this channel are going to be Supergirl. I'm actually probably later today going to go see it. And then The Odyssey. You guys know, like, I love me some low-hanging fruit. We are definitely going to go watch The Odyssey, which is going to be kind of a pain because it's like 3 hours long, but we're going to do it. That's going to happen. Oh yeah, good point from Martin Zellner. Why is Citizen Vigilante by Uwe Boll practically banned in Germany while similar movies like Django Unchained were not censored? Yeah, I mean, it all has to do with who you're exacting revenge upon. It's okay to gun down white people. It's okay to gun down like Russian people, as we saw with John Wick, but you can't do that with migrants, with Muslims, especially if it's topical. And Uwe Boll here, 92% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. He's, I think, little video probably thanking fans.
Hi, here's Uwe Boll, and I have to say, the first time in my life I have on Rotten Tomatoes 92% fresh. That's unbelievable, and the result of my movie Citizen Vigilante. Watch it now everywhere on Amazon, Apple, Fandango, Google Play, wherever you can find it. Thank you.
I love how the legend did not bother to turn off the TV as he filmed that. That's kind of funny. Yeah, some people, this post says, even in nationalist circles, say that Citizen Vigilante should be more subtle and smart, less overtly militant. Have you seen the movie One Battle After Another with Leonardo DiCaprio? It's a film that glorifies far-left terrorism, an anti-conservative diatribe that calls for violence against us. What Uwe Boll lacks isn't subtlety. It's a $100 million budget and good script doctors. One day, a right-wing director will certainly make a film that is artistically more accomplished than Citizen Vigilante. Okay, but now only Uwe had the courage to take the first step toward making militant works that openly embrace nationalism. Yeah, and so here we have a review, a 1-star review from Citizen Vigilante. A half-star review. Uwe Boll has spent decades torturing audiences with some of the worst films Hollywood has to offer, yet somehow, despite all the blunders that have come before, his latest outing, Citizen Vigilante, is undoubtedly the worst of them all. More worryingly, it serves as a dangerous call to arms for those who share the filmmaker's belief that migrants and immigrants are to blame for the heinous crimes that occur across Europe. Okay, well, it's not really a Uwe Boll belief, right? Like, we have the statistics. We know who's overwhelmingly committing the crimes in European countries. Yeah, and the same reviewer, one battle after another, 4.5 stars. It's also tiring. Someone else said Citizen Vigilante should be mandatory viewing across Europe. We've had years of woke lectures from Netflix, Disney, and Hollywood. Maybe it's finally time for a film about reality, crime, failed integration, and the consequences of mass migration. Adam reviews film. He says Uwe Boll's Citizen Vigilante is a contender for the worst movie of all time. A 90-minute call to violence fueled by Boll's racism disguised as a film. This is an abhorrent and dangerous mess. Full review. And then someone says, this is the greatest endorsement of a film I have ever read. So yeah, if you are interested in looking at a film that actually addresses the migrant problem and has action and Armie Hammer, then check out Citizen Vigilante. And apparently Reddit hates it. Surprise, surprise. No, Reddit, Citizen Vigilante isn't, quote, the worst movie of all time just because you disagree with its message. Yeah, defy Hollywood, watch Citizen Vigilante. Yeah, and also support Armie Hammer as well, was kind of canceled, dropped from Hollywood because of false allegations. I think we can all sympathize with that. I mean, if you're an actor, basically your entire livelihood is dependent on the public liking you. And we saw, like we've seen with Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp, that can change the drop of a hat. Yeah, Arkantos on Rumble. If Reddit hates it, it's good 99 times out of 100. Very much so. Liquid Poo Poo, Citizen Vigilante needs USAID money, LOL. And so if this was like the opposite narrative, if Citizen Vigilante was a film about a migrant suffering racism or violence at the hands of some like European person, you can guarantee it would be nominated for all these different awards. It would be getting grant money, you name it, regardless of quality. Like, oh, but I don't think Citizen Vigilante is actually a good movie. None of these independent lefty movies are good. It's not like the quality is there for those movies either. So that clearly has nothing to do with whether or not Hollywood and the mainstream film industry actually embraces something. Roman Prolapsky on Kick. I still can't believe she took a dump on Johnny's pillow. Yeah, I think that allegation, more than literally anything, is what really, really finished Amber Heard's like public career, because you can't unsee that. You can't unthink of that. That's something that's going to stay with you just forever. And so we have, let me see, not that much longer, but before we continue on with the show, I do want to take a minute and thank our amazing sponsor. Here we go. Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil. If you guys have been following me for a while, you may know that I am all about any type of nutraceuticals I can have or I can take to get a little bit healthier. This episode of Anathema is brought to you by Native Path's Antarctic Krill Oil, omega-3s, astaxanthin for your heart, joints, and memory. So if your ankles or feet tend to swell, especially toward the end of the day, or if your joints ache in a way that just won't quit, that's often inflammation at the cellular level. And one of the most well-researched natural solutions for it isn't fish oil. It is today's sponsor, which is the better alternative. So if you've been taking fish oil for your heart, joint, or memory support, here's something you need to know. Research shows that fish oil is 50% less absorbable than krill oil because fish oil omega-3s are in triglyceride forms. Not the best, but krill oils are in phospholipid forms, which are actually the same format that your cell walls are made out of. So that means krill oil gets into your cells immediately. And in head-to-head studies, krill outperformed fish oil at improving cholesterol, reducing inflammation, and easing joint pain, often at lower doses. So Native Path's Antarctic Krill Oil is sourced from pristine Antarctic waters, contains the powerful antioxidant astaxanthin and comes in a tiny soft gel. You won't get any fishy burps or weird aftertaste taking this, which I really appreciate. So learn more and grab your special anathema discount plus free shipping today at getkrill.com/Lauren. Again, that is getkrill.com/Lauren. GETKRILL.com/Lauren. And a big thank you to Native Path for sponsoring this episode. All right, so let's finish off. Should we finish off with the JP Morgan executive? What should we do? Or actually, no, let's do something else. Here we go. Share this tab. So apparently the average American woman is 5'3" and weighs 171 pounds. So that's a problem. That, by the way, is a huge problem. And for reference, I am 4 inches taller than this. And while 9 months pregnant, weighed 160 pounds. For reference. So that the average woman is just walking around 10 pounds heavier than that while being 4 inches shorter than me, that's not good. And I am by no means like an athlete or anything like that. This is just a lot of fat. The average American woman is obese. They're overweight. And the same can be said for men as well, but I'm not really familiar with like male body composition like I am with women. If you're 171 pounds, that's a problem. And so there have been posts that have gone viral, of these women who are clearly overweight saying like, can you believe that according to the BMI index, this is overweight? And it's like, yeah, because according to any metric, you're overweight. Like there have been plus size models that, have become very popular and people are like, what? They're not plus size. They're just normal. Let it be known that normal in America is overweight. Normal is being too fat. And that's a problem, okay? It's not good. It's even for a national security. It's gone to the point now where so many people are overweight that Western militaries, I think the UK is like not quite as bad, but they're also fat too. It's decreasing military readiness. Yeah. Purple of Cassius on Kick 171 is a little less than me, and I'm 5'10". Christ alive. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Mactronic Man, I think people over 40 just let themselves go and pull up the averages. Also, rural areas pull up the averages. It's young people too. Doubtless, in urban areas, there's less fat people, but it's still a lot. And being in Asia last year, that was one of the biggest differences that I noticed coming back to America, how many fat people there are. It's just, we talk about, but sometimes there are medical issues. It's not all medical issues. Like your thyroid is not making you fat. Okay. It's literally what you're eating. And I know America has delicious food, but you need to stop. This is actually like a health issue at this point. Liquid Poo Poo on Twitch. The Whatever podcast here on Twitch is big and a conservative ally. I hope y'all connect. This topic is in their zone. I've actually been on the Whatever podcast in person. Love that show. It's my guilty pleasure. Brian has invited me back on. They film out of Santa Barbara, which is, I'm not really there ever. But if I ever find myself in California again, 100% I will try to go on the show. Mactronic Man, even quote, fat people in Asia are kind of petite, LOL. So there are these videos that I've seen of people in China paying money to go to a fat camp or like a fat prison. Basically, you give them, I think, $1,600 to $2,500 for an entire month. Includes room, board, and physical training. So you stay in this facility with they look really nice, and it's just like they monitor you. They keep you on a diet. You participate in exercise classes. There are daily weigh-ins. You have fitness coaches and nutritionists following you, and it's all to help people lose weight. So I've seen videos of people at these fat camps, and what immediately got me is that the people who are in these Chinese fat camps are probably like a medium in America. By no metric in America would these people be considered fat, but they are so fat by Chinese, Asian standards that they're literally going to a fat camp. Yeah, that's how bad it is. Av3103, fresh and fit. I would love to. Migrant and I have floated some sort of collab. I like that he's been covering all of these court cases so much. That's been really interesting. So yeah, I would definitely talk to them. Fidget guy on Rumble, want to lose weight? No sugar, no dairy, try keto or carnivore. Yeah, definitely. I've been on carnivore before, and it's hard being that restrictive because I love carbs. I love me some bread. I don't know how to act around like fresh, warm bread. I will literally eat an entire loaf. But it's carnivore. You feel great. The weight comes off. You have so much energy. The Cragmeister on Twitch, Laura, not to interrupt. And don't pause for me. You're not interrupting, sweetie. Go ahead. Would you like some help with your sub badges, emotes, Discord, etc.? If so, I got you. I would actually love that. We have some emotes. We could definitely have more sub badges. I'm such a noob when it comes to that stuff. So actually, yeah, why don't you, if you can, DM me on X. My DMs are open. I'll find it after the show and we can touch base. In edible China, no dairy. Some people do dairy with carnivore. Like some people do only animal products, so they consider dairy part of that. Yeah. Sorry, 26. Let's see what else. We got a couple more posts. Let's go after. Oh yeah, RNC Research. They've posted this Unearthed. So James Tallarico, he's the Democrat candidate for senator in Texas. He's trying to run as a woke Christian. I mean, and he's like done crazy stuff implying that God is non-binary, whatever. The real Christian effort is when when we support abortion. He's that kind of guy. So we have this audio of him saying that he hates Christianity.
Yeah, and that's, I always think of myself as a Christian who hates Christianity, right? And like I always get drawn back into it.
This guy is not a Christian. He's one of these politicians, and this is especially popular with progressivism, where they wear Christianity as a skin suit. They use all the Christian buzzwords in order to try and subvert it while simultaneously gaining votes. So yeah, don't vote for him if you're in Texas. He's not a Christian. He is a leftist. And he's one of those people who's so clearly manufactured and inauthentic. Like he's speaking to his leftist audience. He's saying like, yeah, it's great. My campaign is meat free. We have all this vegan stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like a little bit later, he's talking to a more mainstream crowd. He's like, can you believe they're trying to pay me as a vegan? I'm a proud Texan. I eat barbecue. It's like, most two-faced astroturf manufactured politician you could possibly imagine. I hope he loses, but who knows? Again, with like Texas, literally a plant cut panda. Oh, could a panda on kick 100%. Like what people, I can send him my mail-in vote from California. They send me extras, not a lie. LOL. Yeah. So, I mean, he's one of the people that whose odds I've been following on Kalshi. It's him versus this Paxton guy that has his own scandals. And it's one of those things where the Republican has scandals. So you have all of these like never Trumpers being like, how could a Christian vote for this person? It's like, I don't know. As a Christian, I kind of don't want someone in office who's going to use my money for abortion. That's kind of worse than someone who has a messy personal life, if you ask me. Obviously, the ideal would be a Republican who is on the straight and narrow for everything. But at the very least, you need someone who will advocate for the right policies because that is their job as a politician. Yeah. In any case, I think we're going to call it there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been real. Next stream is going to be Friday again at 2 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you there. Don't forget to follow me on the socials. I'm basically at the Lauren Chen everywhere except for TikTok where I'm Lauren Chen. And again, I'm going to shout out the podcast. If you like podcasts, thanks so much. Thank you especially to everybody in chat. Thank you all for all the subscribers on Kick and Twitch. We will see you next time. Take care.